What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwi coach. Welcome back to another video. This is going to be another PGA Tour analysis video. We're going to be taking a look at the recent Open Champion winner, Collin Morikawa. I think there's a lot of interesting things in his golf swing, a lot of maybe misunderstood things in his golf swing. So we're going to be talking about that in this particular video. So without further ado, let's go do this thing. But before we get to the analysis, real quick, we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, and that is Kiwi Golf Japan. If you guys didn't know, YouTube does not pay the bills, and we got to pay them bills. So make sure to check out Kiwi Golf Japan down in the link down below. You can get access to over 130 videos of golf instruction, all the way from beginner videos, intermediate videos, advanced videos. We have videos through our P system, so if you want to learn about P1 through P10, you can do that as well. Again, we have so many videos on that membership site currently, and we're just updating it every single month. We think it's a great deal. So if you want to support this channel, help us out, and get access to all those videos, as well as all the future videos, make sure to check that link down below. And with that out of the way, let's get into this analysis. So like I said in the intro, in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some interesting positions of Collin Morikawa, probably some misunderstood positions. And the main point I'm trying to get across is really this idea where a lot of you guys look at PGA Tour players' golf swings, and just because they're a good player, you try to copy those swings. But what you're not understanding is really the reasons why they are doing certain motions. And then from there, if you learn that why, hopefully you'll understand that maybe I shouldn't do this in my own golf swing, or maybe I should do this in my own golf swing. So specifically in this analysis, we're taking a look at three positions. Top of swing position, this bowed wrist that Collin has at the top of the swing. We're going to take a look at this kind of shallowing concept. Is he actually shallowing the club or not? And then we're going to be taking a look at this low rate of closure idea. Is the current body movements that he has actually encouraging him to have a low rate of closure, or is it not? So let's go ahead into the first one, which is going to be the top of swing position. So in answering this question, should I have flexion in my golf swing or not? I think really the base understanding that you have to get is going to be the leading edge relative to what wrist condition you have. So in this example, we can see that Collin obviously has a very bowed wrist at the top. However, if we take a look at his leading edge, it's tilted down to the ground like this, which means he has a very neutral face angle at the top, right? So his relationship is, even though he has a bowed wrist, which typically gets most people into a really shut face angle, he actually has a very neutral face angle at the top. That tells us that at setup, his grip was in a very weak placement, right? If you have a weak placement and you add on flexion, typically you're gonna get more of a square face angle at the top. So leading this back into you guys and kind of, okay, well, Kiwi coach, should I flex my wrist or not? Like, that's all I care about. I don't want to know any of that stuff. Well, let me answer it with this. First thing you need to understand is club speed. So let's say you're swinging your 7-iron at 38 meters per second or higher. So if you're going to get a face angle at the top, that's more so in this parallel looking position with the leading edge, and you're bowing your wrist, honestly don't think that's a bad thing. Because as you start to get to like your 4-iron, your 5-iron, or your 3-iron, or like a fairway wood, you're still going to have plenty of speed to get the golf ball up in the air to where you can still stop the golf ball on the greens and you can function and play really good golf. Versus someone who swings less than 38 meters per second with a 7-iron, once you start to get up to those clubs like the 5-iron, 4-iron, 3-iron range, you will not have the club speed to get the ball in the air with that face angle at the top, and you're going to hit the ball too low and it's not going to be very functional. So when you're deciding to flex your wrist or not, I think club head speed is a really important thing to think about, and then compare it to the leading edge that you have at the top of the swing. Now, let's say you're a slow swinging player. However, you are flexing your wrist at the top, but your leading edge looks very close to what Collin's looks like. In that situation, I would actually argue that you should continue to flex your wrist. If you don't flex your wrist, you actually might play worse. So in that scenario, that would be a good thing. Versus, let's say maybe a high swinging player. Let's say you're flexing your wrist and then this leading edge is parallel like this. Yes, you have the speed to support it, but let's say you're hooking the golf ball now. Well, because your leading edge is parallel to the ground, you have a very shut face, that's obviously going to encourage a hook. So even though you have the speed to support it, maybe getting a little bit less flexion, getting that leading edge a little bit more neutral, that might help mitigate some of that hook. So in that case, you wouldn't want to flex your wrist. So I hope you guys are kind of understanding some of the checkpoints you got to think about before you start flexing your wrist or not. Let's start moving into the second position, which is going to be that shallowing motion. So if you watched a swing analysis of a Japanese golf instructor with Collin Morikawa, I'm sure they talked about this beautiful shallowing motion that Collin has. but does he actually shallow the club? To start to answer this question, I like to think about what really is shallowing. And for a lot of the Japanese golf industry, shallowing is kind of this flattening motion, right? When the club shaft is kind of moving this way. Personally, I don't think that's the best terminology. I would rather think of shallowing more so as a lowering motion than opposed to a flattening motion. But let's not get caught up in terminology here, but let's just understand that there really is kind of two types of shallowing that we're going to be talking about in this video. One of them is the flattening, one of them is the lowering. So to make it simple, I'm going to call them either flattening or lowering. So as we take a look at the top of the swing, to figure out if Colin is actually flattening or lowering in early transition, you're going to want to draw a line on the club shaft at the top, go down a few clicks, and then it's really easy to see if he's flattening or lowering. In this particular swing, he's absolutely flattening the club from P4 to this next position. However, as we continue to go down, let's take a look at the next little position right here, and we can actually see that the club shaft now is actually steepening, right? You see how the two lines are intersecting there. So he's actually doing the opposite of flattening. He's actually steepening here. Now, as we continue to move him down, we're going to see that the club shaft now is actually pretty much falling parallel now at this point. So he's more so lowering the club at this particular position. And then as he continues to go down, we're going to see a trend of really just lowering the club all the way till just past position 5. And then just after position 5, that's really when he starts to actually steepen the club and the club starts to kind of move out towards the golf ball. So to answer your questions out there, does Colin Morikawa actually shallow the club? Well, if you're using the Japanese golf industry's definition, I would argue, yeah, he does in early transition. He definitely has this little flattening motion at first, but then immediately after, he actually starts to steepen slightly, and then he kind of just falls all the way down till just past P5, and then steepens more into the golf ball. So now you probably have that question, well, hey, Kiwi coach, should I shallow the club or not, right? It's interesting to know what Colin does, but really I only care about myself, right? I just want to know what I want to do. So to answer that question, I think you really need to think about your top of swing position. If you're going to be across the line at the top of the swing, yes, you better shallow, or more so, you better flatten the club first before you lower the club. Because if you don't, and you just come down with this cross the line position, you're going to actually either miss the golf ball completely, or if you do hit the ball, you're going to hit it way off to the left. So yes, you need to have this flattening motion, and preferably you have to get to the perfect club shaft angle by the time your hands get to your shoulder height. If you're not doing that and you're across the line, you're probably going to really struggle. From there, if you have more so my preference, and you're going to see that the club shaft is more so on the forearm, then from there, you do not need to flatten. You just need to lower this club down until roughly just past P5 when you start to steepen the club shaft and move that club head out towards the ball. It's personally why it's my preference. I feel like it's a lot easier motion to do, but the question for you guys is really which one should I do, and that is the best answer. If you're across the line, you got to flatten first, then lower. If you're not, you just have to lower. All right, moving into the last position of the swing, and this is kind of that low rate of closure idea. And I hear a lot of people in Japan talking about if you move your body like Colin, right? If you really open up your hips, if you start to drop this right shoulder, all of these motions is going to allow you to have a really low rate of closure, and you're going to hit the golf ball much, much straighter. But is that really true? So that's it for you guys on YouTube. If you guys want to watch the full video, make sure to check out the link down below that is to our membership site. You can watch the rest of this video as well, get access to over 130 videos of golf instruction. It really helps out this channel and it allows us to continue to make content for you guys. Other than that, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video.